I did the last video on a wide angle lens so I could get more of it in. It made me look a bit tubby down here. Now I do know I have put on some lockdown lard, but I'm hoping a lot of it was to do with a wide angle lens anyway. But I'm on a mission to get rid of it. Let's get this built up. I've got all the bits for it. They've all arrived. There's been a couple of mishaps, but I've got a way around solving that, but I'll talk about that when we get there. I could build it all up in this video. It depends how it goes and if we need to just pack up and clear up and do it in a couple of videos. But if it just all goes together nicely, then yeah, it should all be done in this video for you. But let's make a start, hey? Okay guys, so this is the frame that's been powder coated and it looks absolutely stunning. Where I take it, Crimble Coatings they're called, they're in Slaithwaite in Huddersfield, near Huddersfield, and that's in Yorkshire for those people that aren't local, and they just mask the threads off perfectly. They do such an even, absolutely gorgeous job. I'm just going to come in close so you can see. Just look at the evenness of that paint. And how they even mask off all the little threads for all the bosses. It's been blasted clean and it is absolutely perfect. The forks look just as perfect as you can see. All that had paint on it, the original paint, but didn't need to be there. It was all like overspray, and just looks absolutely stunning. Okay, so we'll do the headset. So this is the headset we've got. Now this steerer and head tube on the bike is 1 1/8, 1 inch 1/8 inch, and on the 1988 Specialized rock opera that I did, that you may have seen in another video, that was a 1 inch headset. So in the headset box we have these parts here, and all that happens is these two bits get pushed into the head tube of the bike, and I will show you that when we go to a bigger picture. We need to bang this fork race onto this tube here, onto the steerer tube. Once that is banged on, we can then put that on, and then how it gets built up, that is then sat on the lower end of the bicycle. Put that on to actually seal it, so that seal will be there. Then that is on the top of the head tube, so we just put the bearings in there, and then that gets screwed down onto it. Whoops, don't have enough fingers, with that washer in between, and then the lock nut just goes on top, and then that keeps everything moving nicely. You'll see when I do it. But how do we get this fork race, this bearing race, whacked on there? And we have a tool like this. Oops. And all we do is we put that on the end and whack it down as hard as we can. You can do it with a bit of plastic pipe as well. I have done it that way. It just depends how hard it is to get on. I will put a bit of grease around here just to help it on, but also just keep it lubricated and hopefully stop it from seizing on if it ever needs removing. And then you do have these different sized adapters that you can just whack on the end of there, just so you get a nicer fit around that race, just so you don't do any damage. And because we've got a 1 1/8 fitting, I will just look through these and see which ones go on nicely and seat on that bit there when it's banging down, because I don't want to damage the bit where the bearings will roll against. So that's it, and I'll go to a bigger picture and show you how that's done. Okay, I'm going to that wide angle view again because I'm doing this on my phone. I don't exactly know how much you can see because they don't have a screen in the front. So you can see I've just pushed it on with my fingers so far, and it just needs a couple of taps to get that race on. But I'm going to just come in front of you and just show you some stuff. So when you are banging this race on, make sure that you're not putting it on the floor and banging it on the forks, because you don't want to damage these or bend these. So you can hold it here, and sometimes they just go on really easy and you only just need a couple of taps and they're on. Other times you might have to give it some welly, and if you do, then probably the best place is to support it under here with a bit of wood, nothing hard like metal, but if you put a bit of wood under there and then whack it down, then it should go on nicely. So I'm just going to do that now. So one more should do it. One more for good luck. So as we can see, that is sat on there nicely. Clean it up a bit, and you can see there's no damage at all. It just sat around there nicely when it was being banged on. So these two bits that are going to go inside the head tube, they're very identical really, but you can see that they both have writing on, so you can tell which is going to be the top and the bottom. Now I'll put a bit of grease on these. Sometimes these just push in, but I'm going to show you the tool that you can use if they don't. Okay, the tool that we use to push those bearing cups in, it's just a press. I've got a big one like this. You could, if you wanted to, just use some really strong washers and some nuts at either side. Something like that would do as well. And all you're doing is just pushing them inside the head tube. Here it is assembled here with the bearing cup press on, and it's a similar tool to what you'd use if you're using press fit bottom brackets, if you're still using them. I could do both of the cups at the same time, but I just want to make sure that this letter in here is facing forward on both of them, and plus it has these bearings at the top to stop them twisting, so I just want to do them one at a time. And all I'm going to do is, if you can see, I'm not putting hardly any pressure on. I'm just turning that lever, and that cup is just sliding inside nicely. So I'll continue to do that, and then I will do the bottom one after I've done that. And just remember that these tools that I've got, there are alternative ways. Like I said, you could just have a threaded bar and some washers and just tighten the nuts in, but it's a very simple process. Okay, so you can see it's just about pressed on, but I just want to stop there just to show you that sometimes when you are twisting these, if it doesn't bite, then the whole lot could be moving. So you just put a spanner on there. That's what the marks are for there, just to keep it. Otherwise, it's just turning within itself. And like I said, just 1 millimeter to go, and that'll be in. There we go, perfectly in, top and bottom. Okay, so let's get back to the crown race. So all we do next is that this is just a plastic sort of bit of trim really. This is sort of meant to stop moisture and water getting in, but it's not a tight fit, but it does a job. And then these are going to go on there, so those will get greased up, and then that will just push, will then go inside the head tube, and then I do the same on the top. So I will just do that now for you. So that is the fork assembled. All that's left to go on is the washer on top. Just trying to hold my phone at the same time. So that washer goes on, and then this lock ring goes on top. I'll just have to get you back in focus. There we go. So this washer goes on there, and then the lock ring. So how tight do you tighten these? You tighten them just so you've got rid of all the play. Now that is too tight, and I did that with my hand. So remember, when you tighten these up, you will tighten that lock ring, but sometimes it can tighten this lower nut as well. So you've got to make sure that you hold this nut steady, so that when you are tightening the lock nut, you're not also tightening this up, because then you will be putting a bit unnecessary resistance on the bearings. So as you can see, when I'm going to tighten up this lock ring, I'm going to make sure that this bottom nut is held so it doesn't tighten with the lock ring. The only purpose of this top nut is just to make sure that the bottom nut, or try to stop the bottom nut coming loose. And I don't want it to tighten, as I'm spinning this around, I don't want it to tighten the bottom nut any more than what it is already, because there's just the right amount of freedom there. All you want to do is tighten that bottom nut up until there's no play at all within the bearings, and then just tighten the top nut as tight as you can really, without it affecting that bottom nut. What you can do is you can over tighten the bottom nut slightly, and then you can pull back on yourself with both nuts, and then you can ensure that that sort of like ensures that you get the top nut as tight as possible without overdoing it. Oh, and that's perfect. No play in that at all. Guys, what do you think about that then? That's the fork and the headset installed. What shall we do next? I know what we'll do. We'll get the stem in and the handlebars, and then we'll have a nice front end built. What do you say? Yeah.